Good morning. Welcome back for week 7 in the class. Week 7 is huge for us, and that's because we are officially getting into part 2 of our course. In part 1, you learned that design thinking process. You had a nice introduction to it and hopefully learned a lot about interviewing customers, building empathy, brainstorming solutions to problems, narrowing them down. We did storyboards, we prototyped, we tested. And I think there was a lot of learning in that process. Many of you have told me that if you had a chance to do this all over again, you would have approached it differently, maybe chosen a different problem to work on. And that is exactly why we do this process twice. In part 2 of the course, we go through design thinking again, and everything that we do now is going to lead you up to your final project that is submitted at the end of the semester. So if you're doing your assignments, you're looking at my feedback every week, and you're making tweaks as needed, you'll be in a really good position to submit that final project without much additional work at the end of the semester. So speaking of that project, let me show you what you'll be expected to do. In Brightspace now, you should see a final project folder, and I'd like to show you what this is all about. You will open up this second link here that gives you a nice description of the task and also shows you your grading rubric. The final project gives you an opportunity to use these design thinking skills to work on a solution to a problem that you choose. This could be a social problem, an economic problem, something that impacts people that are important to you. And you'll do another lean canvas as well as a short presentation to explain your problem and solution to an audience, specifically our class. Remember, this course is entrepreneurship and innovation. So this idea that you come up with for your final project first needs to be unique. That's the innovation aspect of the course. It needs to be different from any other existing solution that's already out there. It also needs to be financially sustainable. That's the entrepreneurship part of the course. A nonprofit solution is okay, so long as you're bringing in revenue in some way that sustains the expenses, that covers the expenses. We don't necessarily need something that's going to make millions of dollars, but it does have to cover the expenses that it has so it can be self-sustainable. You don't want to be relying on donations, for example, to make your solution sustainable. For the final project, here are the things that you'll do. You'll keep a journal, and I provide you with the template. The wisest thing that you can do for this project and for each assignment leading up to it is to use the journal template for your homework assignments. You'll see that there's a space on here for every single homework assignment that we're doing from this point through the end of the semester. And if you're doing your work on this journal template, then you have the bulk of the final project already done. So please start now in week 7 and do your homework assignment on this journal template. It's linked in the final project overview, and there's also a separate link in that final project folder in Brightspace. And what you'll see is that it becomes a larger document as you go along, and then each week I'll just go to the section that I need to be able to grade your homework assignment. So you're keeping a journal in the process. You're going to make another prototype, another lean canvas. What's new here is that you're going to make a pitch. So you will create a short recording, 2-3 minutes, no more than 5 minutes, that is a high energy explanation of your customer's problem and the solution that you've identified. Also, another important aspect of this project is that you're making improvements. You see that I give you feedback every week on the work that you submit. It's important that you do go back and make adjustments in this final project so that what you submit at the end of the semester is as high quality as possible. The second page has your grading rubric, so you know exactly how you'll be evaluated. You can take a look at that on your own time. So the essence of the final project is included in that final project overview and grading rubric. Here's the link to the journal template. Here's another lean canvas template for you to fill out. And then your final project is submitted here in this folder. And that does include a link to a recording of you creating your pitch, which I will work on later towards the end of the semester, and I can help you with that as needed. So that's it on the final project for now. It's not due until the end of the semester, but I do want you to know that it's out there, and that is the goal of all of the weekly assignments from here on out. So let's get into week 7 so you can see what you're doing. In week 7, we're going to work more on problem identification and customer empathy. These are things you've done. We're going to interview next week. The first time that we started with this process, you started with the interview and drew a problem out of that interview. We're going to approach it slightly different this week, where you're going to choose a problem. You're going to choose a problem that's important to you, or it's important to people that are important to you, and then you're going to move on from there with an empathy building exercise next week. But what we'll do for this week is something called a community walk and a problem tree, and I'll explain those in just a little bit. But one more thing I wanted to show you regarding the final project is in the slides, there are 4 different examples, and these are videos that I'm not going to show you now because I think the quality wouldn't be very good over this recording. But I want to make sure you're watching them because they're great models for the type of creative solution that we're looking for. Again, it doesn't have to be at any grand scale. I think narrower is better. This first video, for example, shows you the problem of sedentary lifestyles. That's a big problem. The solution, however, is very focused and narrow. It's making taking the stairs fun. So you'll watch this short little video and you can kind of get a sense, perhaps, for what's happening here. You've got an escalator that doesn't involve any user interaction. Someone just stands on it and it takes them up the stairs. But you also have stairs to the left of that. And how can we incentivize people to actually take those stairs? Well, we've created a piano on the stairs that actually plays different notes as the person moves along the stairs, touching the different stairs with their feet. So it gets people choosing to take the stairs, having fun, getting a little bit of exercise. The other video is related to the pandemic and controlling the spread of germs. There's a solution here that makes using hand sanitizer fun, so you can watch that to get a similar idea. And then the last 2 video options that give us additional models for the final project idea. One is pollution, again, a very broad problem, but a very narrow solution. And in this example, we've got children who are repurposing old tires for chairs and things like that. And then the last video you can watch, it's about the issue of trying to carry a lot of groceries without good transportation, and we have a self-propelled cart that also is a lot of fun. So these are the things that you're doing. I can't emphasize enough. As you move forward, your solution needs to be unique, and it needs to be financially sustainable. If you have any questions on either of those things, let's talk. But those are the 2 broad things that I'm looking for in your homework assignments and also the final project. So what you'll do this week, you're going to do something called a community walk. And that is where you physically step out into a community and observe some problems that people might be experiencing. I have some details in a future slide about it. You can go through an exercise called the My North Star. It's optional for people that are struggling to choose a problem they want to work on. And then once you identify your problem, you're going to create a problem tree. If you've taken the Launching Ventures course, this might be familiar to you. It is a visual way that we can think about problems that people experience and look at the underlying causes of those problems, which would be the roots of a tree. And then also look at the effects of that problem, which would be the branches of the tree. The last thing you're going to do is an exercise called Finding Your Customers, where you write down a list of people that you think you could talk to about the problem that you've chosen. And next week is when you'll interview them. So here's some information on that community walk. I'm not going to go through it in detail for you, but it's all here in the slides, as well as the additional design thinking resources that are listed in Brightspace's resources. Think about who might be able to be in a community, though. It doesn't necessarily have to be the street that you live on. It could be the residence halls. It could be JCC in general. It could be commuter students. There are a lot of different communities. Maybe it's the people that you work with. Maybe it's your family. There are different ways you can approach a community beyond just the actual town where you live. So think about who might be a specific community, and there are some other ideas that are listed here. I want to take one moment and talk to you. We mentioned that it's visual. See that the trunk of the specific problem, the roots of the tree, are the causes, the underlying causes of that problem, and then the branches are the effects. And I've given you a few examples here on the slides, but also in Brightspace, you'll see some examples of problem trees. So if we were to do one together, we might look at this problem of sedentary lifestyles. That's the main problem. Well, what are the causes of that? It could be that our neighborhoods aren't very walkable. It could be that many of our jobs and schoolwork requires technology, so we can largely just sit and work at computers. There could be a lot of reasons for sedentary lifestyles. It's the problem. We would do some research and fill in the roots with all of the particular causes. Aim for 5 to 10. We want to see a lot of different potential causes. And then the consequences, the effects of that problem, those are the branches. And with sedentary lifestyles, the effects might be childhood obesity, heart disease, stress factors, physical health type things, increased healthcare costs, all sorts of consequences that arise from this problem. I do want to see some evidence of research that you use some web resources, maybe even went to the library. You wrote down some consequences and some causes that you had to look up and learn about throughout this process. So that's the problem tree. And then lastly is finding your customers. That's just a short list of people that you can talk to about it. So let's look at this week. You've got to do chapter 6 for the Ice House. There are only 8 chapters, so we're going to phase out the Ice House. After chapter 8, we do a book review, and then that part of the course is done, which leaves you with a little bit more time each week to work on the weekly assignments leading up to the final project. So that's all done by design. So Ice House chapter 6. Then you have the community walk, the problem tree, and finding your customers. The whole thing might take you, 2 hours in total. So it's not a huge lift, even though we do have multiple steps to this week's work. Then you can do that North Star as an optional assignment if you'd like. One specific request is please type as much as you can. That helps me read it. That helps you prepare a professional looking final project and journal template. Type as much as you can. The problem tree does not have to be hand-drawn. That can be written. You'll see some examples, electronic examples that can be done in Word or Google Docs. It can be list form if you want to just list branches and then all the things, and then roots, and then all of the causes. That's fine too. So type as much as you can because it looks much more professional. But if you do need to take a photo, just make sure that it's readable. I think that's it. I know that's a lot of info for today. Please remember to reach out if I can support you in any way. You can make an appointment through Starfish. We can meet through Zoom. That's typically much more effective than a lot of emails back and forth. You can reach me on the Remind app or phone call as well. I'm here to help. Enjoy your week.